A very tall son named Barron. Has anyone ever heard of him?
The world seemed to freeze in place when Barron Trump, the youngest son of former President Donald Trump, walked onto a stage and calmly took hold of JD Vance's microphone, live on national television. Gasps echoed through the auditorium as cameras caught every second of the unscripted moment. Within minutes, the clip went viral, sparking debates across the globe. Was it an act of boldness? A misstep? Or something deeper, a silent message spoken without words? This was no ordinary interruption, it was a moment that rippled far beyond the room it occurred in. The setting for this extraordinary event was equally grand. That evening, the air in the Capitol buzzed with quiet anticipation. The venue, a gleaming architectural marvel of glass and light, stood as a beacon of modern power. Inside, red carpets stretched across marble floors beneath the warm glow of golden chandeliers. The crowd moved with purpose, figures from media, business, and politics filed into their seats, their polished shoes clicking softly as they entered. This wasn't just another formal gathering, it was a nexus of influence, a stage set for the future to be shaped. Every seat was filled, from the front rows near the stage to the upper balconies crammed with reporters, notepads, and cameras in hand. The air was thick with importance. Among the crowd sat Elon Musk, poised and observant, his expression unreadable but sharp. Around him were other titans of technology, political strategists, and top advisors, each engaged in low, deliberate conversations. The hum of whispered strategy filled the space, but no one dared speak too loudly. This was a moment to witness, not distract from. When the music faded and the massive screen behind the stage stopped flashing logos and slogans, the announcer's voice cut through the quiet like a knife, JD Vance. A hush swept over the room as the name landed with gravity. Phones were pocketed. Conversation ceased. From behind heavy velvet curtains, JD Vance emerged beneath the spotlight. Clad in a navy suit, his presence was composed and unshakable. His gaze moved briefly across the crowd before settling straight ahead. This was his moment, long anticipated and heavily scrutinized. Everyone knew he wasn't here to pander. He was here to make a case, to cover direction. From his opening line, it was clear this speech wasn't crafted for applause. Each word was measured, each phrase built with care. There were no gimmicks or theatrics, just ideas. Bold ones. He spoke of renewal, of discipline, of facing hard truths with clarity rather than spin. His focus was unrelenting, his tone grounded in urgency. When he turned to economic reform, he stripped the subject of fluff, confronting the failures of past decisions and outlining a path built on vision, accountability, and competence. The speech gained momentum as he pivoted to a topic rarely addressed with such sincerity: generational change. Young people, he said, must not be seen as future voters, but present stakeholders. Leadership, in his view, should mirror their energy, not nostalgia for a past that no longer serves. He didn't call for revolution but for thoughtful evolution. It was a call for balance, between experience and innovation, tradition and progress. The room responded not with cheers, but with quiet understanding. Heads nodded. Notes were taken. It wasn't excitement that filled the air, but reflection. Among the front rows sat Melania Trump, her hands delicately clasped, her gaze fixed attentively on Vance. Her applause came sparingly, but meaningfully. Beside her, Barron Trump sat upright, his focus unwavering. He didn't fidget, didn't glance away. There was a maturity in his silence, a depth in his concentration. He watched not as a passive observer, but as someone absorbing the full weight of the moment. As Vance's speech reached its crescendo, his voice grew firmer, more distilled. He spoke of courage, of resilience, of the responsibility to act rather than wait. His words asked not for admiration, but for resolve. When he concluded, the audience remained motionless for a beat, holding the stillness like breath in their lungs, before a wave of applause swept through the hall. It was not raucous, but certain. The kind of applause that follows understanding. And then, just as the energy began to settle, came the moment no one saw coming. The applause still echoed when a tall figure quietly rose from the VIP section. At first, the movement barely registered, subtle, almost imperceptible. Then came a ripple of recognition. Barron Trump was on his feet. No one guided him. No words passed between him and his mother. Melania remained composed, her hands still folded, her expression neutral. Barron moved forward, calmly and deliberately. JD Vance had begun to step away from the podium, but the shift in atmosphere made him pause. He turned, his face tightening with surprise. The audience followed Barron's steady stride with growing confusion. No one had expected this. There was no cue, no announcement. Yet, the room didn't panic. Security tensed but didn't intervene. Cameras came alive again. Journalists leaned in. What was he doing? Barron reached the stage and stopped for a moment, then, without hesitation, stepped up. The silence in the room deepened. It wasn't fear or shock anymore, but awe. A hush thickened as he reached out and took the microphone with calm purpose. He didn't look to the crowd. He didn't speak. But something about the act, its poise, its confidence, its wordless intensity, left the room suspended in time. There were no theatrics. No interruptions. Just a young man, standing beneath the lights, reshaping the atmosphere of a nation in a single, silent gesture.